Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There it is, so you don't miss any of our football content this season. It has been, if I might say, fantastic. Well, it's the most wonderful time of the year for getting in on all the basketball, football, hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's the season of giving, so we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football, basketball, pro hockey to almost 24/7. It's an absolutely great time of the year. So a lot of games every day, so many opportunities to place your first bet. Now, if you're going to bet for the first time, just make it simple. Pick a team to win, any team. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook. They have an app. Download it in 90 seconds. Here's the gift for all new customers. Bet $5, just $5. If your bet wins, you get $150 in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The code is Colin, C-O-L-I-N. New customers, $150 in bonus bets. If you bet $5 and it wins. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. So it's 21-0 Green Bay at half. And, the Saints have like 35 yards passing. So I thought, I'm just going to do a 15-minute pod. If the Saints come back and win, screw what I said. But that's the least competitive football game I have watched in the NFL. Certainly that I've watched every play of this year. And I'm going to get back to that game in a second. And it has to do with the Packers. But, one of the things I'm proudest of, I do a segment every Monday called Callin Right and Callin is Wrong. And it's one of my higher rated segments I've ever done every week. And I do think people appreciate just saying, hey, I whiffed on something. And I've said before that I'm willing to change my mind if I get new information. And I was thinking about watching the Packers tonight. I'll give you an example of something I radically changed my mind on. So I would say 40 years ago, I liked the Olympics far more than the World Cup. And the reason is that 40 and 45 years ago, when I'm, 15 years old, 20 years old, college student, high school student, and as somebody that absolutely loves sports, you didn't get 3 straight weeks of sports. You didn't have this proliferation of regional networks and local networks. When I was a kid growing up, 15 years old, you got an NBC baseball game of the week. I lived around Seattle. I couldn't get Mariner games except on radio. You couldn't watch Mariner games. And I was a kid from divorce. We didn't have the money to go to Mariner games. It was a 2.5-hour drive. I lived on the beach in Westport, Washington. So, like once every 5 years, I'd go to a Mariner game. So the Olympics, for a sports obsessed 15 and 20-year-old was 3 straight weeks of sports. It didn't matter that I didn't care about the sports. At that point, I'd never skied. It didn't matter. I'd watch the Winter Olympics. I wasn't in track. I didn't care. I'd watch the Summer Olympics. It didn't matter. I still don't care about Olympic sports, most of them. But it was 3 straight weeks of sports. And then you have, over the course of the last 40, 45 years, this proliferation of cable and, again, all these networks. I can turn on my television any day of the week and get 20 games. I mean, you can fish around on a Tuesday and get, during the baseball season, I can watch every baseball team. So the Olympics now today don't feel as special to me because I didn't care about the sports in the Olympics then or now. But the fact that you got 3 straight weeks of sports was really unique. Now it's not. And so now you could have the Olympics. I'll watch the opening ceremonies, maybe a couple events. I just don't care. But I love the World Cup. Some of that is I worked at 2 networks with World Cup and soccer analysts and experts. So I'm around more soccer people. And frankly, I every 4 years, it's something new. It's something fresh. I mean, how many NBA games, how many football games can I watch? The quality of soccer is great. I know more about soccer. It doesn't matter if it was the other place or Fox. I'll watch more soccer. A lot of my adult friends have given up baseball and they're more soccer fans. On a Saturday morning, they'll watch English Premier League. And I have a lot of friends like that. I've also gone to Europe more in my life. So I'm just more into the World Cup than soccer. I've totally changed my opinion on that. And this is where I get back to the Packers. I always thought not having an owner was a disadvantage to the Packers. is that having a Stan Kroenke who can literally, as he's on the tarmac, true story, flying out of the country, can tell Sean McVay, all right, go for it. Go get Matt Stafford. Like, it's going to be expensive. I'm going to pay for Jared Goff in Detroit and Stafford in LA. Let's go for it. Big advantage. But I'm watching the Packers tonight. And think about this. 10 of 32 teams in the NFL, 31% of the NFL has 5 wins or fewer with a couple of weeks to go. So the Saints have 5, and they'll lose tonight. Carolina, the Jets, and Chicago have 4-11. Vegas, Cleveland, Tennessee, Jacksonville, and New England are 3-12, and the Giants are 2-13. So that's 10 of 32 teams. That was only 5 last year. It's doubled. That is a really, really large bottom and unwatchable part of the NFL. It feels very much like the NBA. It really does. I mean, 30% of the NBA or more is unwatchable. And I think there are 2 reasons for that. Number one, more and more, because of rule changes and culture, quarterback just means more. I mean, there's only one great quarterback in the NFL that's not going to make the playoffs. Joe Burrow. Cheapest owner in the league. Terrible defense, shaky O-line, and he's still fighting for a playoff spot. They may make it, statistically very little chance, but they may make it. He's the only great quarterback that won't make the playoffs. If you have one, you're in. If you have a good rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, you're in. Michael Penix, my guess now, is going to win the remaining games for Atlanta. They'll be in. If you just have a competent rookie quarterback, a Penix down the stretch, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, you're in. So quarterback's more important than ever. And number 2 is billionaire owners now. The poorest owner is a billionaire. And it wasn't like that 10 years ago. And billionaire owners are less patient. Firing a staff and having to pay $45 million is more of a rounding error. And so you have more chaos among coaching staffs and more chaos in the coaching community. So it's more quarterback-centric and more impulsive owners, you just have more hot messes in the NFL. And I'm watching tonight. I'm one of these guys that can sit down and watch almost any NFL team. Giants, unwatchable. Jacksonville, Tennessee, Cleveland, Vegas, hard to watch. Carolina with Bryce Young, I can watch a little. Jets, Aaron Rodgers, I'll watch. Chicago, I'll watch. Saints tonight, unwatchable. So it's just interesting. It's something I've really changed my mind on, is that having an owner, I always thought was a huge advantage. But I think Green Bay going forward, having no owner, because I now believe, because of the impulsive nature of billionaires, richer owners, less patient, more impulsive, there's only about 4 to 5 great owners. I think the Hunt family in Kansas City is excellent. Stan Kroenke with the Rams is really excellent. Robert Kraft, people will argue he's frugal, but a pretty solid owner. But there's a lot of average to below average owners right now. There's more good quarterbacks and good coaches in the NFL than great owners. And I think going forward, you're allowed to be much more patient. I mean, you're allowed to sit Aaron Rodgers on the bench for 3 years and grow. You couldn't do that if you had an owner. No way you could have a first-round quarterback and not rush him onto the field. The owner would be harping every year. There's no way you could have Jordan Love sit for 3 years, as Aaron was getting prickly and high maintenance and passive aggressive, and owner would have stepped in and said, ship him, let's play the kid. Just why do you think Green Bay, more than any NFL franchise, can keep using this formula? Drafting, high-end quarterbacks first round and not playing them for 3 years. You could not do that. Even with a good owner, you couldn't do it. There'd be too much pressure. I mean, I think you'd be surprised how often owners listen to sports talk and listen to fans. GMs are too busy to listen. So are coaches. Players don't really care. But billionaire owners who have people under them want to get the temperature of fans and the media. And I mean, there's no question that the New York media is influenced, Woody Johnson influenced by the New York media, firing Robert Saleh. Everybody was banging on him. And if Woody Johnson's not listening, his kids are listening. We've heard stories about Woody Johnson's kids having influence. So I think it's a real advantage for Green Bay going forward. And I believe strongly in this, and I never used to think it, is that as the wealth and the net worth has gone up 10 times for owners, you don't have to worry about it. Brian Gutekunst, Mark Murphy, who are they answering to? The Packers board. And it's, not a lot of power there. So, I'm watching Green Bay, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they have been able with the last two star quarterbacks to just let them sit for 3 years. No way in the world could you do that with an owner, even a good owner. So, tip of the cap to the Packers. Some more thoughts on college football. There was a lot of angry reactions to college football, and I really thought the games would be more competitive. But in retrospect, college teams struggle on the road. And I think you have to realize with certain things, like as sports fans, especially football fans in America, we're sort of spoiled, right? I mean, you got the Pacific 10 o'clock window, the 1 o'clock window, Sunday night, Monday night. It's very formulaic in the NFL. Got to have a quarterback to win. You have 4 or 5 major broadcast teams. You really know what to expect when you roll out of bed on a Sunday morning with the NFL. You got your red zone early, your big Fox games, CBS games late, Sunday night football, NBC, Monday night, ESPN. You get used to it. And college football is a little bit of a barnyard musical. It's games starting early, mid, late. You never know. You turn on a game Saturday at midnight, you'd find something on. There's just games everywhere. And it's always been a sport that has blowouts. And so I guess in retrospect, as this tournament expands to 14 or 16 teams, you're just going to get blowouts. That's just the way it is. I mean, I'll say this again. Go back to Nick Saban's heyday, that 12-year run where they were really dominant. There were years there weren't 3 teams that could compete with them on a neutral field. Maybe LSU, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, if they had good quarterback play. Maybe. So don't expect the 12th best team and the 11th, the 10th, and the 9th, and the 8th going forward to play road games and to compete. I mean, hell, I'm watching Tennessee get steamrolled, and they got pros. They don't have Ohio State's pros, but they got pros. And I think we just have to understand that the one similarity between the college football regular season and the college football playoff is these are 19 and 20-year-old kids. And they are extremely influenced by circumstances. And like tonight, the Saints are a bad team in Green Bay. They'd lose at home. They'd lose in Green Bay. That's not a circumstance. That's a personnel issue, a coaching issue. But in the NFL, you go on the road. Right now in Vegas, they consider the home field advantage to be a point to a point and a half because of improved technology and improved travel. Teams just travel smarter than they did 8, 9, 10 years ago. But, I mean, people are really freaking out about the college football playoff. And, I mean, it's better than the alternative. Bowl games with empty stands, going forward with the NIL with players who don't really want to play in them. Some do, some 6-win teams, it means a lot to end up in, a bowl game. But a lot of these big name schools that are disappointing. I mean, just look if Ohio State wasn't playing in the playoff this year, they'd be in like the Citrus Bowl or something. 7, 8, 10 guys on that roster, they're looking to the NFL. Some wouldn't even play. So you take a deep breath. We're a little spoiled by the NFL and the quality, generally, the time, the structure, the formulaic nature to it. It's the margins in college football on any given Saturday, there's 20 blowouts. Sometimes when you have good teams square off. Ohio State and Tennessee. Those are blue bloods. That thing was over in 8 minutes. It wasn't even competitive. Generally in the NFL, Ravens face the Steelers, Chiefs face the Texans. You kind of feel like both teams have a chance. One team may be better. Home field matters a little, but you kind of know. If you get two good quarterbacks and two good coaches, I mean, the Jets and the Rams. I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, and that was a good football game. The better team should have won and did. It's a competitive football game for 3 quarters. They're all pros. So I think the college football playoff is just going to get better and better, but we just got to bake it in. College teams on the road, even talented ones, things go sideways really fast, really fast.
I judge the quality of a fragrance by the compliments you get. When I wore Ovation for the first time, second time, and third time, usually I walk past somebody and they're like, hey, what you got on? Who over there smelling good? That's the injection of confidence right there to you.
That's right. We want to be at the forefront of using the brand as a gateway for these young athletes. Custom suit, we do a photo shoot, we do a video, and it's all about that partnership to create a personal brand.
And I love you guys associating it with more sophistication. Throwing a suit on a kid, sometimes it takes for you to see yourself with a suit on in the mirror to be like, hey, I have more to offer.
Ovation for Men, we're part of Amazon's Black Business Accelerator. Amazon has invested $150 million for the next 4 years to uplift small businesses like myself to scale. Amazon is really putting their money where their mouth is.
They're committed to excellence on every level. They want to scale these businesses to be amongst the best in whatever industry they're in.
You've always been authentic. You've always been pushing excellence.
Well, I appreciate that.
As our slogan says, every man deserves an ovation.
Yes, sir.
Listen, this relationship with Ovation for Men, Richard Sherman, the volume, this is just the beginning.
I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of your journey. If you haven't already checked them out, go out there, get your man some. And get the sport too. And it can be Christmas, birthday, holidays, or yesterday. But make sure you get it.